Big tech found hundreds of billions of dollars for artificial intelligence. There is just one small item missing from the shopping list: electricity. Not the electricity needed to charge a laptop. We are talking about data centers drawing power on the scale of cities, running around the clock and asking an electric grid built over decades to move at software company speed. The five largest technology companies spent more than $400 billion on capital projects in 2025. According to the International Energy Agency, that figure was set to rise by another 75% in 2026. Much of the acceleration is connected to AI infrastructure, but buying the servers is only the beginning. Those servers need power plants, transmission lines, substations, transformers, cooling equipment, and a reliable connection every second of the day. So who actually pays for the power system underneath the AI boom? The obvious answer is big tech. The honest answer is big tech. Utility customers, investors, and taxpayers can all carry part of the cost. Which group pays the most depends on contracts and regulation that almost nobody reads until the bill arrives. And that does not mean your electricity bill will automatically explode because somebody generated a picture of a shrimp wearing shoes. It means cost allocation has become one of the most important and least understood parts of the AI investment cycle. So let us follow the power bill. In 2025, electricity consumed by data centers worldwide increased by 17%. By 2030, the International Energy Agency expects total data center electricity use to roughly double, while consumption at AI-focused facilities could triple. In the United States, Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory estimates that data centers could consume about 11.8% of national electricity in 2030. The exact figure is uncertain, but every major scenario points to a large new source of demand. The deeper problem is that AI operates on two clocks. The technology clock moves quickly. A chip can become outdated before the promotional keynote has finished buffering. The infrastructure clock moves slowly. Power plants, transmission lines, substations, and regulatory approvals can take years. Big tech wants the first clock, the power grid owns the second. Imagine a company wants to build a giant AI data center. It buys land and servers, then asks the local utility for electricity. The utility studies the project and discovers that serving it may require a new substation, larger transformers, upgraded transmission, and additional generating capacity. None of that infrastructure appears through positive thinking. Someone must provide capital before the data center begins consuming power. Utilities finance these investments, then recover approved costs through electricity rates over time. Regulators decide which customers benefit and how the bill should be divided. That division is called cost allocation. It sounds harmless because accounting language is designed to lower your heart rate before taking your wallet. The central question is simple. If infrastructure is built mainly for one giant data center, should that company pay the full cost, or should the bill be shared with everyone else? In the cleanest version, the data center operator pays for its dedicated facilities and signs a special electricity contract covering the broader costs it creates. The agreement may include minimum monthly payments, long contract terms, collateral, or take-or-pay provisions. Take-or-pay means the customer commits to paying for a minimum amount of service even if it uses less than expected. It is the grid equivalent of reserving an entire restaurant and then discovering everyone has started intermittent fasting, and these protections matter because forecasts can be wrong. Suppose a utility builds new infrastructure for an AI campus. Then the customer delays the project, reduces its size, moves somewhere else, or discovers that newer chips require less electricity. The infrastructure still exists. The debt still exists. The utility's cursed spreadsheet now has eyes. Without contractual safeguards, some of the cost could be shifted to existing customers. That is why the United States Department of Energy has highlighted fair cost allocation and protection against underused infrastructure as major issues for large electricity users. It is also why the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission acted in June 2026. The commission ordered 6 regional grid operators to justify or reform their rules for connecting data centers and other large users. Its goals included preventing cost shifting and requiring agreements that make large customers pay their fair share. State regulators still control many local decisions, so there is no single national answer. Who pays depends on the utility, region, contract, and infrastructure involved. The power bill has four basic layers. First is the electricity itself. This cost belongs most directly to the technology company, although some may eventually reach cloud customers through computing prices. Second is the dedicated connection, the substations, transformers, and lines needed for one project. These costs should follow the customer causing them. Third is the wider grid. A data center may require generation or transmission upgrades that also benefit other customers. Sharing some cost can make sense when the upgrade improves the whole system. It is harder to justify when the project mainly serves one private company. Fourth is public support. Governments may offer incentives or infrastructure assistance. Supporters promise growth. Critics ask why the public should subsidize some of the richest companies in history. Both sides can produce a spreadsheet. Only one spreadsheet gets invited to the ribbon cutting. At this point, the bearish story seems obvious. Big tech arrives, consumes a giant block of power, utilities build expensive infrastructure, and households receive a mysterious new line on the bill. But that story is incomplete. Large new customers can lower rates if their contracts are designed well and their demand actually arrives. Electric grids have large fixed costs. A data center paying its full share can spread those costs across more electricity sales. New infrastructure may also improve reliability, so a data center is not automatically a parasite, and it is not automatically a gift. It is an enormous new customer carrying an enormous forecast. If the operator pays for dedicated facilities, commits to minimum bills, and remains connected for years, the project can support investment without transferring much risk to households. If a utility builds aggressively using optimistic forecasts and half the projects disappear, the risk moves in the other direction. This is where the risk intern quietly adds a new column labeled, "What if they do not show up?" Efficiency adds another complication. The electricity needed for an individual AI task is falling as chips and software improve, but cheaper computing encourages people to use more of it. Economists call this a rebound effect. Normal people call it buying an efficient light bulb and then installing 47 of them. Current forecasts already assume major efficiency gains. Total consumption still rises because AI usage grows faster, but flexible workloads, on-site generation, batteries, and microgrids could reduce the pressure on public infrastructure. A private power plant does not eliminate the bill. It simply gives the bill its own security fence. Power companies also see an opportunity. Utilities can build assets, producers can sign long contracts, and equipment makers can sell turbines and transformers. But the financial asymmetry remains. The equipment maker gets paid when the transformer is delivered. The utility may earn a regulated return. The data center operator must still prove that selling AI computing produces enough revenue to cover servers, depreciation, electricity, cooling, and financing. And the chip invoice arrives first. The power bill never stops arriving. So, how do we judge whether this build-out is working? There are 5 questions worth watching. First, are technology companies signing contracts that place dedicated infrastructure costs on the data centers themselves? Minimum bills, collateral, and exit fees decide who pays if a project is abandoned. Second, are utilities building against committed demand or speculative demand? A signed agreement is different from a developer reserving capacity while deciding where to build. Announced megawatts are not paying customers. Third, are regulators separating private costs from public benefits? A private substation should not quietly become a neighborhood group project. Fourth, can data centers shift workloads away from peak hours or provide some of their own power? And fifth, are AI revenues and margins growing fast enough to cover the full power cost? Cheap electricity cannot rescue a data center with weak demand. Strong demand can still produce poor returns if power, depreciation, and financing consume too much revenue. The winner will not necessarily be the company with the largest building or the most chips. It will be the company that turns electricity into valuable computing at a cost customers will pay. So, who pays for big tech's AI power bill? Big tech should pay for the electricity and infrastructure built specifically for its projects. Cloud customers may absorb part of the expense through computing prices. Investors provide capital. Governments may support some development. Existing electricity customers face risk when contracts fail to protect them. But those same customers could benefit if data centers pay their full share, remain for the long term, and spread fixed grid costs across more sales. The answer is not hidden in the number of data centers announced. It is hidden in contracts, tariffs, and whether the promised demand actually arrives. AI may be digital, but its economics are becoming aggressively physical. Behind every chatbot is a server, behind every server is a power line, and behind every power line is someone deciding who receives the invoice. The AI boom does not end when big tech buys the chips. That is when the meter starts running.